get to our smart topic today. You know, the government is required to review the dietary guidelines for Americans about every 5 years. And they just came out with their latest recommendations about how you should be managing your menu.
Yes, that's right. And I'm curious to see, you know, we actually put up the question that they changed the guidelines on our Facebook page. We didn't say what the government changed their guidelines about. So I'm curious to see what a lot of folks responded to that.
Yeah, the question was, new U.S. dietary guidelines are out and the government recommends drastically reducing one thing. And what is that one thing? And so here's what you thought. Jeremy said, soda. They must be saying reduce soda. And Renee says high fructose corn syrup.
Yes. And Patrice says probably something they said we need a year ago.
That we needed a year ago.
Right, exactly.
First it's in and then it's out. We hear you on that one, Patrice. And Tanya says, how about Facebook?
Yes. Wow.
Should also, probably limit Facebook.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, a lot of you said also sodium. And those of you who said sodium, you are absolutely right. That is what the government guidelines have come out with the intake of sodium.
Yeah, basically the result to reduce your intake of sodium, most people have no idea how much sodium they should really be consuming, and we're in that same boat. We're going to learn a little bit more about it today. But the American Heart Association says most of us take in twice as much as we need, and too much can cause hypertension, it can cause heart disease, and even stroke, and of course, you have too much salt, and you even just on a day-to-day basis kind of bloat up and carry a lot of water with you.
Absolutely, and I have to say, you know, one of the things that's really fascinating to me is there's some typical foods that we know that contain sodium, but there's some foods that sneak up on you.
Okay.
Like, for example, you know, soy sauce. We all love to go have some sushi. You have a little bit of soy sauce. This is very high in sodium. So I think per serving, I don't have my glasses on, Connie, but it's very high. Can you read that, Connie? Okay, well, it's high in sodium.
Okay, seriously, that's where we are. All right, 900 milligrams of sodium. Now, here's the thing. 1 tablespoon. This is normal. This is normal soy sauce. Right. You can get soy sauce that has lower sodium. So that's going to help.
And I just happen to have that right down here.
Oh, you do?
So it reduces it by about a quarter there.
So we'll swap them out then.
Exactly. Or you can also get Bragg's, which has amino acids, and that's a fabulous substitute for soy.
Okay.
Campbell's soup. You know, your kids are sick. You want them to have chicken noodle soup. Lots of sodium in a standard can of chicken noodle soup. So for that one, this is a little tiny can. You know, you put a full can in. It's 2.5 servings.
Sure.
So for one serving, you're going to get 480 milligrams.
Okay.
Okay. So that is a quarter of a teaspoon.
A quarter of a teaspoon.
Right.
Well, the recommendations that are out say that we should have no more than 2,300 milligrams of sodium daily, which is about a teaspoon of sodium. Right. But 1,500 milligrams for people who are African American, because you're in a higher risk group.
That's right.
Those with hypertension or high blood pressure, and those with chronic kidney disease, or any adult that really is over the age of 51. And that means really about half of the U.S. population should be restricting themselves to 1,500 milligrams of salt a day.
That's right.
Now, that's very hard to do, so we're going to be pulling in the expert here to help us get it done.
That's right, and this is why joining us, registered dietitian Michelle Dudash is here to kind of break it down on what we should be doing when it comes to sodium and some foods that we should check. So welcome.
Always a pleasure to see both of you.
I wanted to point out one thing. You know, these sports drinks, a lot of these kids like to do sports drinks. One of the things I learned is after you run a full marathon, it's about the only time you really need to be intaking this much sodium, and this is how sodium sneaks in. You would never think.
I know. Well, we do need electrolytes, and that sodium that's the reason.
Right,
so we want to replenish those, but most of us don't need all of the sodium. Right.
So when you look at the new dietary guidelines, what's your favorite new message in all of this?
One of my favorites is they say to fill half of your plate with fruits and vegetables. I love this because it's easy to remember, and if you follow that, you're probably going to automatically eat less of those things you shouldn't be eating a lot of anyway.
Yeah, and by doing that, you're cutting out those carbs. That would be the mashed potatoes of the old days, or maybe, you know, French fries, whatever. That's
you're going to cut down on the solid fats, the sodium, and those added sugars.
Yeah.
So now what I have here today is a day's worth of food following the dietary guidelines on a 2,000 calorie diet.
Okay.
So the first thing we have with the fruits and vegetables is for breakfast. This is a yogurt and mango parfait. So I have some Greek yogurt, some granola in there, and then the mangoes.
Okay.
Now the mangoes, I work closely with the National Mango Board.
Yeah.
And they're a powerhouse of antioxidants, vitamins and minerals, over 20 vitamins and minerals in there. So it's a really great
sometimes we don't
way.
really know what to do with the mango. So you've
That
actually
is true.
pureed here.
Yes, that one's pureed, and I want to show you how to cut this because that's what kind of ties people up.
I think so too.
So we just cut this cheek off, okay? Now the important thing to remember is that a mango has a pit, a large pit in it. So what I did here was cut down the middle about a 1/4 inch from the center. Okay, so you have this cheek. Then when we have this cheek, I scored this with a paring knife, just like a checkerboard.
Yep.
And then what you have left, you can just scoop the little chunks right out of there with your spoon.
And I like how you kind of flip that upside down. It makes it good for kids,
beautiful,
too.
it's fresh, it's delicious.
Can I have a bite of that?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, mangoes are yummy. Or you could just slice the skins off. You know, they actually make a mango slicer now, too.
I know. Don't you love that? So quick and easy. I love that for breakfast.
You're also into nuts and dried fruit?
Now, that's another part of the guidelines. So for a snack, they say to eat less solid fats and try to get more proteins foods without the solid fats. They also say nuts, seeds, and soy, we should be getting 4 ounces per week. So that's a great way to, you want to get more nuts in your diet. Exactly.
Don't nuts have some nuts? I mean, should you get the no salted ones to avoid the sodium?
They do recommend getting the unsalted, but again, it comes down to reading that label. So, you know, look for those with lower numbers. So here we have pistachios. I also have some dried apricots in there. The pistachios have 6 grams of protein. That's about what you're going to find in an egg. They have 1.5 grams of saturated fat, and that's one of the lowest sources of saturated fats among nuts.
Good snack.
So that's a good snack.
How about lunch?
Now for lunch, here we have a tuna wrap. So again, with those new guidelines, they're saying to eat 8 ounces of seafood per week, which is a new addition to the guidelines.
And probably a lot for people, because you're really saying now at least 1 serving once a week.
The average American only eats 3.5 ounces of seafood, just as a reference. So we have a tuna wrap here with some spinach, with some cheddar, and then some baby carrots on the side. So this is a great complete lunch for you to have. Now for an afternoon snack, this is where we get to the sodium, ladies. So when you do reach for those packaged foods, you want to read that label on the sodium. So we have 5 whole grain crackers here with some 2 tablespoons of hummus. So that's good. That's a great little snack that still has some
5 crackers,
crunch in there. That counts as 1 grain serving. So depending on how active you are, you could have more perhaps. And then when it comes to dinner, again, trying to keep that sodium down. This is a grilled chicken breast, 3.5 ounces. I use some no salt added seasonings, like a Vicious Dash or McCormick or something. We have some brown steamed rice, 1 cup, and then 1.5 cups of broccoli. So instead of the salt, you can use lemon juice, season that off with some Parmesan cheese, which will give you a lot more flavor without all the sodium.
So really, I think when people say, oh, I'm just supposed to have a teaspoon of salt a day, first of all, that doesn't sound like very much, because I know people salt their food a lot. But when you take into consideration that you're also getting salt in your nuts, you're getting salt in your crackers, there's so much salt in just your packaged foods, you really should probably not be putting any salt on your food at all if you're talking about the new guidelines, really reducing your salt intake.
If you're cooking most of your food at home, you do have room for a little added salt, but it's really the packaged foods that can get you into trouble. So with the fast food as well, that is a huge culprit. So I really recommend look at those nutrition facts. Good. Find out.
Michelle, let me ask you one question. With these sugary drinks, how's the government addressing this one with
That's
the new
another
guidelines?
very big change. They're saying to drink more water and less sugary drinks.
I love it!
So I know, I was really happy about it. So that means sports drinks, juice beverages that have added sugar, and then of course the soda. So things you can have, just have some water with some lemon and orange wedges in them, some unsweetened tea, and even, coffee without all the added sugar is another way to stay, enjoy some beverages.
I think people are under the impression, too, that if you're eating fresh, it's more expensive than if you're eating packaged. And in this situation, that's not the case at all.
No. In fact, this entire day's worth of food is about $8.
Wow.
So think about how that compares to if you go to, it's easy to spend almost that for lunch anywhere in most places. So tons of food, beautiful colors, and lots of nutrients.
Okay, well, Michelle, some really good information there and simple ways. 5 crackers, huh?
5 crackers.
Okay. Well,
Michelle Dugash, it's always nice to have you here. Thanks so much for being with us. We're going to have all that information for you of the recipes that Michelle has prepared here on our website for you, and we've linked that information at abc15.com. You'll find us under the Lifestyle tab.